everything is going to zero right now. Or at least that's what everybody on the internet is saying because, well, the markets are falling like crazy. I mean, you might have already seen it. XRP below $3, Bitcoin at what? 113,000, Ethereum back below 3,500. The sky is falling, right? Well, to me, it's not. Ultimately, all this is just temporary. I can't describe well enough how confident I still am in the greatness of this market. And if you get shaken out by moves like this, do you really know what you're holding? I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing I say here is guaranteed. But yeah, for the most part, it's all just opportunities. And I've described to y'all 1,001 times before that macro can definitely influence the price. If Trump does something, which we'll talk about today, if something happens in the major markets, yes, it's ultimately true that can shake our coins. But really, I really want you to sit down and think properly what you're selling your crypto for. Remember that if you're selling your BTC, if you're selling your XRP, if you're selling whatever coins you are holding, as long as you believe they will succeed over longer periods of time, remember that you are selling them for almost, in my opinion, worthless dollars. I like dollars, I like euros, I like whatever currency, fiat, for convenience sake. But we all know that keeping your money in dollars, euros, or things of that sort is almost always the worst decision. It is nice to have, so if you want to buy the dip, for example, it's nice to have if you want to freaking repair your laundry thing. Washing machine, there we go. But over a longer amount of time, it always depreciates. It will always go down in value. And especially right now, as the fears of inflation are very high, I want you to remember that you're selling for that. An asset that is almost certainly going to depreciate over time, right? About 2%, mostly more a year. There's infinite printing, right? So you do the math on that. Remember that all this ups and downs is all temporary, but you're always going to sell for, in my opinion, the worst asset. Regardless, let's talk a little bit about what's going on right here. So first of all, we have ourselves $1.1 trillion wiped out of the US stock market today. So generally speaking, our cryptos aren't doing that well, but just know that that's the overall market. Everything is going to crap. And to some extent, I think that is nicer when you can, let me quickly show it to you like this here, when you can just look at the entire crypto market with an eye of like, with disgust, rather than looking at only crypto, thinking it's pooping on your head. No, it's everything, right? No discrimination, all right? Not discriminatory at all. Every single market is dropping. And it makes you wonder, is this the point where you should start getting afraid? Now, for me, there's not really any round specific number that I really am afraid of. All we're waiting for is the big catalyst to bring it higher. I cannot seriously fathom any level where I'd get afraid the bear market has started, even though I've said many times, I believe between August of this year and January of 2026, we'll see the high point. I still believe that for that to happen, we do need some even crazier spike upwards. I still even think that the whole treasury hype has not reached a final conclusion. And if you're wondering, that if you've got a bigger balance, it is, just quickly refreshed, give it a second to load in. If you've got a bigger balance, it is almost never the nicest idea to go all in all at once, right? The reason I opened some of these bots with very little amounts, like for example here, just 5,000 XRP, even just 1,000 ADA, right? That's just a few $100s. The reason I did that is so that I can add as the market moves down. Now I have to do a full sweep of adding to every single thing in a little bit here. But for example, look at this Dogecoin, right? We only put 2,500 Doge in, but right now it's down about 66%. This is the time where you should, for example, be either looking for margin to make sure your bots don't get wrecked, or on the opposite side, be looking to add more to basically DCA, right? Because we started this at 27 cents. Right now at 20 cents, we get the chance to just buy more in, add investment, just buy more basically. And that's also one of the reasons my XLM bot was able to do so well over time. And if I look at some of the earlier bots I opened, almost none of these are ever getting back into a loss again, I believe. You see, the wrecking price for my Bitcoin trade here is freaking $50,000. And if you scroll through, you see most of these are gonna really last themselves a long time because I've let them go for a while. They are already now basically at a point of maturity, it feels like, where it's hard for them to get into a bad spot. And that is also partially the goal, by just only making sure they don't get wrecked, only making sure to add when the prices are low, and I'm not really taking too much out. Take a look at this, by the way. You can see our virtual bot is down 100%. So this is also where I should be adding. But I described previously that I'm just not the biggest fan of virtuals no more, because I also have myself a trade open right here. And I just basically said a while back that, you know what, I'll just kind of wait for virtuals to do its thing. I don't actually want to have more exposure. But this is also where we come to the point where I should be adding more to my XRP and my Bitcoin and my ETH long, because I described before that I will buy more coins every single day. And that's also why I always have some money left on the side. But besides the point, what's going on? There are two scenarios after today's date. One, the US labor market is entering a recession. That's what some of the fear is here for. Well, why? Give it a second, I'll talk about it. Something is seriously wrong with the data. And there were a lot of comments about that too. The unemployment rate is rising, and 258,000 jobs have seemingly disappeared from the data within 2 months. How is that possible? That's more than the entire population of Scottsdale, Arizona in a single data revision. This comes just 24 hours after the Fed said we have a strong labor market. So something here doesn't really fully add up. And that is a double entendre here. Right? Something's not adding up. There's a few things going on here. On the one hand, Trump is saying these numbers, there's something strange happening to them. I'm not sure if it's Trump or just Trump's administration, to be honest here. I'm just going to quickly change that to I'm not sure which of the two said it. I have the comments slightly down below. But we also have Trump on the opposite side, just making the entire market just a lot worse. Trump said, I have ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in appropriate regions near Russia. Okay, right? Anyway, President Trump says the Fed board should assume control if Fed Chair Powell continues to refuse to cut rates. And this is also double because on the one hand, people are talking about, whoa, everything is doing too good because they all right, I wanted to still skip it. Let me just say this. All the companies are doing really, really well here. They're all doing better than everybody expected. So does that mean there's crazy amounts of inflation going on? Or what exactly does that mean for the back end? Why would he have to cut rates then to make the economy do even better? Well, but on the opposite side, if so many jobs have gone missing and unemployment is not so strong, even though he said that, who's lying? Where's the truth? What's going on? By the way, if you also want to trade crypto, by the way, like right now, for example, we're seeing some of the most volatile times. There are people out here retiring their entire families, or I guess on the opposite side, losing it all to the markets. If you also want to trade, my bots, which is all automatic, right? They buy when the price goes down, they sell when the price goes up. It's all linked down there on Payonix. And if you just want to trade normally, the platform I use mostly is Blowfin. It's just easy crypto trading platforms, but you can check them out, the links down below, as you also get some nice bonuses for signing up. Anyway, Trump said this. Jerome, too late Powell, a stubborn moron, must substantially lower interest rates now. If he continues to refuse, the board should assume control and do what everyone knows has to be done. And that's a little bit of a response to some of the other parts. So NASDAQ 100 futures extend decline to minus 1% on the day as markets react to earnings and new Trump tariffs. What are those tariffs, you may ask? Trump raises tariffs on Canada to 35% from the previous 25%. And there's one post here by Julian, which I want to show you. And this is just to kind of pinpoint that whatever your portfolio is doing right now, realize that this is only going to get worse. And that's a good thing. For most people, whatever swing you're seeing right now in your portfolio, let's say you had $400 in crypto and it's down $50 or $200 even in the worst case, right? One of the worst cases. You might be feeling really, really bad. Just know that as you're progressing in the investment journey, eventually your portfolio gets bigger and bigger, where a bad day, all of a sudden you're down a few million, or in Elon Musk's situation, you're down multiple billions or tens of billions of dollars. And Julian had a nice post. I just wanted to quickly put it in here as a little motivational piece for some. Keep grinding till this becomes an ordinary day for you, right? Where you don't even notice too much that there's $2 million missing in your profit and loss. And you might be thinking that's crazy. But there are people who've done it. They start with a few $100s and they make it up to the freaking top of the tops in a few months, a few weeks, a few years. Of course, there's a little bit of a factor of luck in that sense. Not everybody's going to be able to do it, but it might as well be you. It doesn't necessarily, you're never disqualified from it being you. You could just get a few lucky strikes, and it can. I just want you to realize that it's really possible. And I keep explaining, it can happen in the craziest of times. Trump makes one announcement, you were correctly anticipating it, and bam, you're at the top of the top. It can be as easy as that. Obviously, also the opposite is true. I like to always state that I'm never trying to say it's easy. I'm just saying it's very much possible. And I also say to people, that the volatility is part of it. If you can't handle the market going down, do you really deserve the market going up? President Trump says job numbers are being produced by a Biden appointee. Oh, there we go. Right. So it was actually Trump himself, not administration. Trump himself was saying that. It was a really interesting situation. So 𝗖𝗢𝗪𝗲 said this was a bit earlier today, but I did not sleep. The market is interesting. But this was earlier. He said, since everyone kind of freaking out a little bit about the coin prices, consider the following. Basically, every company on the planet has beaten earnings by a lot. This is not because they're all magically better than they used to be. It's because we are in hyperinflation and there's simply more money in the system. That means risk on will go up and to the right forever. And that basically means that risk on assets. If you want the definition, risk on. Investors take higher risks in pursuit of higher returns in favorable economic conditions. Risk off. Investors avoid higher risks and prioritize preserving their capital in unfavorable economic conditions. So essentially, right now that the market is so good, people take increasingly crazier risks. And I described in many of my videos the reason the crypto market sometimes tupples, right? Basically, after 3 years of up, 1 year of down, is because people go too crazy on the risk scale. They start thinking they can beat their gains by even more, make more by going for riskier and riskier assets, until somewhere in the midst somebody realizes what the frick is going on. And that's where you get a little big short situation. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. Where somebody calls the bluff and that starts a bit of a cascade. If you're selling your scarce assets, your coins basically here, because of a 2% or even 5 or even 10% dip to buy an infinitely printable asset, you deserve to not make it. Grow some balls. Moon that forever. Yeah, I do believe in this type of thinking process, which comes along the lines of, really, when you look back at it, if you had just shut up always and just realized that what you're selling it for is infinitely worse over time than what you've got right now, it makes things easier. On the short term, yes, you may look stupid. On the short term, yes, people may laugh at you. May not be happy with your choices. But overall is the question. And I also want to remind people, this is not the perfect post for it, but it just reminded myself about the situation. Remember that at some point the high will come though, somewhere within the next few months. And you have to realize that it's not going to go up forever on the short term. Over prolonged periods of time, the market has thus far never failed. But the data is not that long. We've got 15 years of data for Bitcoin, for example. Realize that the top doesn't necessarily have to come in the exact time frame we specified. It's just most logical. But that most of the time, it is better to sell into highs. Some people like to, for example, every single time Bitcoin makes an all-time high, so every single time it makes a new high, right? They sell a good chunk. Why? Maybe 1%, maybe 2%, just so they can slowly but surely get out of the position at some of the best prices, because you do not know how many times it will do that. Maybe it will make a high 24 times, right? If you are selling 2% of your balance every single time, you got out a pretty good chunk at basically optimal prices. And maybe by that point, after the 24th time, Bitcoin is at 220K. And now you're at a really, really good price where you can cash out even more. On the opposite side, maybe you were selling into tops after the 24th time. In this case, you're only halfway done. You don't get a new high, so you're not selling. Well, at least you sold a very, very good chunk at an average, pretty high price. And now you can still decide after you fail to break the high right there, if you want to just sell at whatever new top it's making, even though it's lower, because you've already sold an average high. It's a good question. All I want to say there is, remember that most people, they fail to sell at the high point because they think it'll continue to go up. What's the best way to prevent it? By always taking profits every now and then. Even if you think it's going to go up way further. I don't sell everything, but I sell good chunks just to keep myself in a happy frame of mind. Then again, some people are just built different, with 𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫 again trying to raise another $4.2 billion to buy more Bitcoin. Yeah. That is still so crazy. So crazy. And there was a lot more talks of Trump's tariffs, but the exact numbers I don't think matter. Just know that the markets did not react too positively to him. And together with Trump's new announcements, yeah, the market is not in the best of situations. That's why about $1 trillion got out of the U.S. stock market today. Basically, all the numbers are not looking good right now, though. So if you're wondering why are my cryptos going down, everything is going down. It's not that special. It's not that unique. We're seeing a very, very bad day for the markets. But the S&P has also done the craziest gains over the last 12 weeks or so. I think it's up, 30%? which before took like 14 years. Right now it took, I don't know, like a few months. So we are seeing some crazy market. We are seeing them beating their records, beating their highs, everything doing crazy. You may be asking yourself, what is the real catalyst? Why exactly is it doing it? I don't think it really matters at the end of the day, because essentially any single scenario I can think of still leads to our coins continuing to go up for at least a good while. So it don't really matter to me too much, but hey, you know what? That's about it for this little crypto update. Just wanted to quickly share my thoughts, what's going on. I'm still buying the freaking dip. I don't care. How low do we go? If somebody tells you that they know, they're lying to you, because they don't. All they can do is react to whatever the market is offering and find some viable solutions. In my case, if XRP, for example, goes down by X amount, I'll buy X amount, if you get my drift, right? If we go down another 17%, let's say, you are going to, in this case, I'm going to buy an exorbitant amount. But if we don't, I'm also completely comfortable just resting, as my bots are always buying and selling anyway. But it's also because I always like to have some peace of mind that if the market does go for another August 2024 slash, where all of a sudden I'm just looking at my screen and everything is red by 20% or so, I'm still okay. That is again for the major positions. If I've got a few smaller longs, for example, some trades that are actually getting wrecked on days like this, I think that's also okay, because I'm doing it for the monster trade anyway. And if you don't know what I mean, it's in this case here, let's say I were to open a long right now because I'm trying to catch that bottom, right? Even with 40x, for example, and I miss it because the price goes down further. I don't think that really matters, because it's all, I personally think, about how good you can make your victories scale. Two examples. One is my XRP long on Bybit, and the other is a BTC long I've got on Bybit. I've got two of them, right? Well, the BTC long, I think we did 1,300 to 50,000, and the XRP long I think is similar, like let's say $1,000 to 60 or something at the peak, maybe 70 even, $1,000, so 1,000 to 70,000 and 1,000 to 500 or something like that to I think 50,000. The reason I was able to do that is just by having good timing, not even the craziest of leverage, just having good timing and being patient. I could have lost quite a few times in the midst right there. It would have still been worth it. At some of the peak points, we also had our Doge trade go from 1K, I think, to 40, maybe something like that, $1,000. And it shows you again, even if I lost 25 times there, I kept wrecking my 1K, kept wrecking. I only need to be right once, somewhere in the midst there. I got the good entry. Oh, it was able to run, and now I'll make up for it, right? So that's my, theoretically speaking, I could have failed way more. I could have failed probably even 100 times. And just by being right once with 1K, could have probably outdone it all. If I now am a bit more patient. Then again, that depends on strategy. But here's, for example, 𝗬𝗓. 𝗬𝗓 Trades is one of the best traders that the entire crypto market's ever known. He's been fully wrecked on his one account, wiping out almost $40 million. And you want to know the fun thing? First of all, he had $40 million to miss, right? He had $40 million that could get wrecked. And second of all, I think still throughout the year or throughout history, this guy is still such a freaking bonk with the amount of gains. Take a look at freaking 2023 here. Just thinking about the fact that it was 1,000 Bitcoin, if he just kept this open, which he perhaps did, by the way. Yes, it would have cost a lot in funding, but it's 1,000 Bitcoin. This would have gone from, in this case, 28 million to, let's call it 120 million, $100 million on just this one trade in, well, let's say 2 years, and it only cost him $3 million to do that. It's to bring up a good point. You may say, oh, but Dusty, that was when Bitcoin was 28,000. Yeah, it was easy back then. Takes conviction, man, to hold this $3 million that he put in, which acted as freaking 1,000 BTC, right? As $30 million to keep it open all this time. But even if you wrecked a few $3 million trades in the midst, even now if you wrecked $30 million, for example, you see where I'm coming from? Where he could have actually still come out on top by far, especially if he had a few of these huge ones open. And just for fun, I wanted to quickly go to the P&L. You can see here, for example, I don't know what the time frame on this one was. 6 months of struggling, followed by 6 months of winning. Probably yearly overview, where a 2024 year P&L of his longs, 84 million. P&L of the shorts, 15 million. So, you know, putting into perspective what people are able to do. Here, 3,000 Bitcoin trade. Sometimes, you know, you gotta look at these numbers and realize, yeah, some people are just better than others, but it's just supposed to act as motivation here. That some people also started with very, very little. Oh, camera's overheating. I'm getting that issue more often now. I wanted to say people started with very, very little. They're able to run it up a ton. Don't let a little bit of a dip get you out of this market. Don't let it wreck you. Don't let it break your spirit. We're all going through this together, and ultimately, we know some better days for the crypto market are coming. No guarantees, but that's my thoughts. And if you're also looking for a platform trade, like I said, I've got some links down below to either 𝗫𝗀𝗃 or Payonix. If you like the bots, you can find them all. And let's see what the crypto market brings to us tomorrow.